Good evening. Good evening. Welcome to the Living in Utah live question and answer session right here on YouTube. I am here every Thursday night, 8 p.m. Mountain Time. So this is a live show. Nothing is scripted, rehearsed, etc., edited, cut out. We leave it all in. It's an opportunity. You're welcome to ask questions about the state of Utah, whether it's in general about the state of Utah, or if you've got questions about real estate. I am a local agent in the state of Utah, so that's my specialty, would be real estate. If you're joining us from a country around the world and you have questions about the United States, you're welcome to ask them also. I do get emails from all over the world and, questions about the United States in general. So I'll be glad to answer some of them. And we'll talk about what's going on and got some news events in Utah. And it has been a week of the weather changed a little bit. It's getting nicer now at the end of the week, but we had some storms come through, quite a bit of rain, much needed. We have been in a drought throughout the whole summer. So we need the water and the snowpack for water to drink and for our yards next year and this year too. So it has been a great change. I enjoy the change in weather. So it's nice to have a little bit of rain as we get into. And a couple things were on top of my mind today as I was thinking about some. I'm trying to do some of the things around my house and prepared for winter. And a couple tips for you. Great time to replace them furnace filters. Great time to replace them smoke detector batteries, CO detector batteries. If you do not have a CO detector, it is probably one of the best investments you can make in your lifetime. It may save your life. So other things now, well, I pretty much do this throughout the whole year. I spray like a home defense all the way around my house to prevent spiders, especially spiders, coming into the house. I do it about 2 times a month, probably throughout the year. You can buy some stuff at like Home Depot, Lowe's, just like some home insect defense. You can spray that. I actually go to the IFA stores here in Utah and I buy some stuff that's specially formulated to just prevent against spiders coming into your home. As the weather changes, the spiders want to try to find a little bit of warmth, so they try to come into your house. So it's a great time to spray. Like I say, I've got it in a pump bottle, so I mix like, 1 ounce to a gallon, something like that. And I spray it probably twice a month, just walk around the house, spray it outside, done at under 5 minutes. Usually when I do the yard work, I will usually spray. I also like spray for weeds and stuff like that. So yes, Utah does get spiders. We sure do. So it seems like when the temperature starts to change, the spiders will look for somewhere warm and in they come. But I've had very great success with keeping up on spraying the perimeter of the house, and it keeps the spiders away. Another thing, as we get the rainy season, you might want to put some extensions on your downspouts. Get the water out to the middle of your yard. Try to keep it away from the basement foundation walls where it can, if there's a little bit of a crack, it could possibly seep through into your basement if you do have a home with a basement. If you're just a slab on grade, then that'd be a little bit different. A lot of homes in Utah do have basements. So if you can keep the water away, especially during the rainy season, usually in the spring and the fall, put those extensions on and keep the water off to the side. Okay. So in the news, in St. George, Utah, they're having a problem with the homeless. The homeless population is growing in Washington County. They have seen a significant increase in the homeless population, and their shelters and facilities down there are at like max capacity. So a little bit of a problem there. Little problem. Of course, a lot of states are dealing with that exact same problem. A lot of states. And we are also battling the COVID still. We just had, in the last day, we had 2,340 new cases and 8 additional deaths. So the numbers in Utah have spiked some over the last week. We had quite a few this weekend. Seems like during the week we are seeing more and more cases. This new variant seems to be taking full force. We have had many large hobo spiders in July and August in the basement. Now we have crickets. Yeah, I don't see a lot of crickets, but it's possible. If you spray the outside, it does a great job. I really don't see any spiders in my home, but I keep on top of it at least twice a month. Whenever I mow, usually you get the trimmer out and the spray for weeds and stuff. And I've got pump up bottles for just about everything to kill weeds in your yard, kill weeds on the concrete and in the rock, and then spray around the side for spiders. I've got a pump up bottle with some nitrogen, so I'll give a little bit of nitrogen to the yard. But I just grab the bottle and walk around the house and spray it. Real simple to do, really in under 5 minutes. So COVID cases are climbing here in Utah. So there is no talk right now on going to any kind of lockdown or mask mandate at the current moment. Greetings from North Carolina. Oh, welcome, North Carolina. Clear on the East Coast. It is 10 p.m. Eastern time. While we're talking about masks, if this is near and dear to my heart, I'm a big, I do a lot for cancer research. Whenever there is a hike, a run, a walk, you name it, I'm usually always there. I donate a lot of money to cancer research. This weekend, the Komen organization is holding a walk in Salt Lake City at Liberty Park. It's 9 a.m. in the morning. And go online, donate money, and walk with everybody else. They will be requiring a mask, so you do have to wear a mask. I will actually be there on Saturday. If you see me, say hello. It's I always mark it on my calendar. I really enjoy these events. And the reason for the mask, mostly, in my opinion, will be you will see a lot of people at the walk or the runs that they hold who are cancer survivors or possibly battling cancer at the current moment. So just trying to protect those people who are most vulnerable by wearing the mask at the event. So I'm glad we got the event this year. It was canceled last year. It's a great thing to raise money for charity. So it's 9 a.m., Liberty Park, downtown Salt Lake City. Liberty Park is right off of 900 South. Real easy to find. So mortgage forbearance ending. So the final people in the group because you were given about 18 months on mortgage forbearance, we are coming to an end. So mortgages will have to be paid unless the government steps in and extends some of these deadlines. So, all right, but do people not wear masks in Utah? Correct. You don't. Yeah. So, I have a little story goes with that too. In general, you do not see masks being worn at the current moment in Utah. We do not have a mask mandate. You do see some people who are wearing masks. It is up to individual businesses if they would like to require a mask. So I met some people from California last weekend. They were into town. We were out looking at some homes and we were looking at some new construction. And we went to one place and there was a sign on the door, and I actually only caught the sign out of the corner of my eye. And it said mask must be worn. I didn't have a mask with me. So I figured, as usual, I just walk in. They require me to wear a mask. They usually probably have one on hand. I will put a mask on. I have no problem with that. But I walk in the door, and the agent who was on duty right there wasn't wearing a mask himself. So when we got done looking in there, the people who were with me asked me about that situation. And I said, pretty much in Utah, you might see signs, and it's rarely adhered to. And so they were a little bit different from how it is done in the state of California. But I don't have a problem if a business requires a mask. I don't have a problem with it. But in general, no. And we have like the college football games that are going on right now in the state of Utah, no masks required, full stadiums, no blocked off seats, et cetera, et cetera. It's just open doors. The Jazz played their first home game last night. The NBA season started, and there are no blocked off seats either in the Jazz arena. It's they're selling all the tickets. So it's kind of where we are at in this particular state. So mortgage forbearance is coming to an end, and we'll see what happens. That's one of the things that was potentially maybe going to change the real estate market. Some people felt that there was potential of a lot of homes going on the market when people couldn't make their payments. I am not seeing that in the state of Utah. Have not seen that at all. And I feel that in the state of Utah, we kept a very low unemployment rate. So a lot of people who were in that mortgage forbearance, probably my guess would be they still had their job. If not, they could probably easily find a job in their career field with another company. So we hope to move to Utah in the next year. We're stuck in North Carolina for now until prices improve. Okay, North Carolina used to be liberty-loving, but has been morphing into a leftist state. Wow. Didn't know that. Not familiar with the politics of North Carolina that well. I will admit that. It's a state that I don't recall ever visiting. I don't know if I've ever been. South Carolina, when I was a kid, I lived in South Carolina for a little bit. My dad was in the military, and we were stationed at Myrtle Beach when I was a young guy, real young. We may have traveled to North Carolina when I was a young child. It's something I don't remember, but yes, stuck in North Carolina until the prices improve. Would that be the prices in North Carolina? Are you getting the home prices up, or are you anticipating that the prices in Utah may come down? Interesting to see. North Carolina has a Democratic governor. Okay. Yes. The last year, the last 16 months, 17 months, somewhere around there, I talked to more and more people are basing their move to Utah or to Texas or to Florida or some of these other states, not just Utah, Idaho. And one of the number one, I ask everybody, what brings you to the state of Utah? And I'm hearing more and more people say it's for political reasons. 2 years ago, 3 years ago, we still had people moving to the state of Utah. And I don't recall anybody moving due to a political reason. Most of it was received a job offer there. Some of the states they're in maybe became very expensive. Maybe they never had a homeowner in their state and they moved to Utah for better opportunities. They're moving here for outdoor recreation. They're retiring. They've always wanted to be somewhere where there's a lot of outdoor recreation, but very little talk about politics. Very little. The Utah prices are still very high. Do you think they will ever come down? I get that question all the time. Can't predict the future. Really can't predict the future. But I do not see anything right now on the horizon that will cause Utah prices to decrease. Things can change. Things can change. Interest rates. I think wherever interest rates go, potentially could change the pricing. When interest rates climb, an individual's buying power is reduced. It's just simple math. Now, will interest rates climb? And I believe they will climb at some point, but the big question is when and by how much. Markets can sustain small increases. I think if you had a real small bump in the interest rate, it might get absorbed because right now we still have homes going in multiple offer situations. It's not as crazy as it was 3 months ago. So we are seeing a little bit of maybe a loosening. And I always say, instead of being red hot, we're just hot now. So you're not seeing as many offers that are the whole no, no appraisal, no inspections, etc. They'll just take the home. If it's a $500,000 home and it appraises for $400,000, they're okay. They'll come up with the extra money. That is dying off a little bit. We're still getting pricing above asking, but we're not seeing some of what I would consider more crazy, abnormal deals that we weren't used to in the past. That has leveled off a little, and pricing has not gone down, but you're not seeing a whole lot of price increases. There are some people that are putting their homes on the market and they're like, I'll sell if I get X amount of dollars. I mean, you can't find an appraisal that'll meet that or comps that'll meet that, but they feel if someone's willing to pay that price, they will move. And that's a little bit different. So I do not see anything that could lower the prices in the short term, and definitely not in the long term. We are the people who forecast the population growth. They are estimating that Utah's population is going to double. Now we're about 3.2, 3.3 million at the current moment. So when I say double, it's still not a huge number. You're talking 6 million. I think California is like 40 million. Texas is like 30 million. So when we compare to states like that, I mean, we're small potatoes, very small. Right now at 3 million, we're probably 1/10 the population of Texas. So, but the long-term outlook is for population increase. And with that is a housing need, supply and demand. So I think long-term, we may have some bumps in the road, but I don't see anything that might totally slow us down. Now, things can change. Everything can change. The other thing that I look at too is, when's the next financial crisis? That in my opinion, would affect pricing around the country. When does the stock market crash? If it crashes. Or when will it crash? Some people might say when, and I don't have answers to any of those questions. But that's something that could maybe derail the market just a little bit. I don't see a whole lot else. Interest rates, I think interest rates will probably be long-term, will cause the market to stabilize more and maybe turn into a little bit of a buyer's market. And what I'm meaning by a buyer's market would be that you could actually maybe come into fly into Utah sometime and find a home in 3 or 4 days. Right now, that's almost impossible. I mean, you'll see some homes on the market, but they may not meet all the criteria that you might have. So that's where I see the market going. I don't see a lot changing. There's a couple things that might change it in some areas. Right now the tech industry is really, really big in Utah, and a lot of other companies' growth. If those companies decide to move out of state and you're taking those high-paying jobs out of state, that could potentially have an effect on Utah's economy. I don't see a whole lot else though. And I don't even see the tech industry moving out. They're building multi-million-dollar buildings, and I feel they have to get their money out of those buildings. So they'll probably be here for a long time, past my lifetime probably. So interest rates would be the biggest thing. Unless we have some other major catastrophe like 9/11. I'm not hoping for that by any means, but World War III or another 9/11 or something could really derail the economy. So especially if it happened in the next 6 months. Apart from that, I don't see a whole lot. The mortgage forbearance was one. The rent moratorium was another, and we've come out of the rent moratorium. We're coming out of the mortgage forbearance. There's potential. I feel we've got inflation. It does not seem to be derailing the economy in Utah. I'm not too sure about other states, but our economy is still booming right now. So maybe not a whole lot. What about renting a home? Yep. Good opportunity to rent homes. Rental prices, they pretty much stay in line with home prices. So rental prices are, some people would say they're high. It's going with home prices. It has increased. There's no doubt it's increased. And there is a lot of new inventory on the market for rentals, especially apartments. They are building apartment buildings left and right. I get lost at all the new development, but these new the new apartment buildings come at a cost. The developers, the money behind them, multi-million-dollar buildings. So they're having to charge premium prices for rent in those new buildings. So, and some of these buildings, these rentals, these apartment buildings, so they're not, some of them are not owned by what I call smaller investors. A lot of the money is what I refer to as Wall Street money. Everybody is looking for, there's so much money going into retirement accounts and everything. It's hard to put money away in banks and earn any kind of interest or gain anything on your money. So money's going in the stock market, and then these money managers are also having to find other avenues to invest money. And rental buildings, apartment buildings are very hot items all around the country. So they're investing $10, $15 million building these buildings, renting them out. So trying to get a return on money, builds, a lot of that money is people's retirement accounts that are going to that. So yeah, it's the latest craze is commercial buildings and the apartment buildings. And commercial buildings has me a little bit. See, I see what they call tilt buildings. So it's a building that they pour a big frame on the ground and they pour concrete for the walls, and then they take these big cranes and they tilt the walls up. These tilt buildings are being built. And some of them right now are empty. They literally are building the buildings, hoping that a tenant will come along. So seems a little bit scary to me. I think I would rather have a tenant first and then build the building for them. But nope, I drive by buildings that are empty right now. You could actually rent the building. Multi-million-dollar buildings, brand new, huge buildings. So this was an article here that came out in the paper that I was not surprised about, but camping in Utah has skyrocketed over the last decade. It is causing some overcrowding concerns. I hear this all the time. No more than last year. With the pandemic, just about every RV dealer that I drove by, inventory was almost non-existent. You could find some of the $400,000 or $500,000 motorhomes still sitting on the lots, but camper trailers, fifth wheel trailers, smaller motorhomes, gone, sold out, completely sold out. And camping spots in Utah are getting tough to find. People are reserving them, booking them, holding them. So from 2014 to 2020, we saw a 77% increase in camping in the state of Utah. Huge increases. And it's getting tough. It's a little bit tougher out there. That's one of the reasons some people choose to live in Utah, for the outdoor recreation. Camping is one of them. It's not uncommon. So I always joke, if you drive down a street in Utah and you do not see, or if you're flying in and you're looking down, if you do not see a camper trailer, a motorhome, a boat, a UTV, an ATV, or a dirt bike on the side of someone's house when you're driving down a particular street, you are probably not in the state of Utah. That's how the amount of recreational vehicles that are floating around the state. And I see it all the time. Drive down streets, you will see some form of a recreational vehicle on the side of someone's house. Camper trailer, motorhome, UTV, dirt bikes, boats, you name it. I've yet to see a street that does not. The only exception to that would be maybe like an over 55 community that has an HOA that does not allow the recreational toys to be parked on the side of the house. Okay, any more questions for this evening? It's been a great evening. Appreciate the questions. I appreciate joining us from North Carolina. I know it is late in the evening. Very nice. I'm going to call it an evening if there's no more questions, and I'll be back again next Thursday at the exact same time. Let's see what we got here. Florida's like that too with the vehicles. It's crazy. Yes. The recreational business is booming. What I'm seeing also here in Utah now is recreational land prices skyrocketing. People want their own piece of paradise to, instead of being in a camping site, to have their own piece of land. Maybe they leave their trailer, their motorhome there, and just drive their car back and forth, or they will, haul it down there. But more and more people I hear want a piece of land, and also to invite their particular friends. Where sometimes you're in a campsite and you're with people that you may not know. So there are some people that will get some land and then have all their friends and have a little private like community on their land. So very popular. Idaho's the same way. There's some spots I go to in Idaho. Matter of fact, we're out in the farm country when we go up to Idaho, and it's rural part of Idaho. And there's a camping spot that, I don't know, 10 years ago, 8 years ago, I would drive by it and there would be 3 or 4 campers. Now it is packed full solid. So the grid system also, yes, our road system is a grid system. Yes, we are a grid system. Yeah, I want to know about the grid system in Utah. The roads having numbers. Exactly. We are getting some street names, and that is confusing me. The grid system, now that we have Google Maps on our phone and in our car, you plug someone's address and get there. But years ago when we did not have that ability, and you had the old maps you had to pull out, I love the grid system in Utah. I could find someone's house purely by the grid system. So we have north, south, east, and west. So if someone's address is 2200 north, 1300 east in a particular city, then as you're heading north on a road, it'll increase. 400 north, 500 north, 600 north, go up to 2200 north. You would make your right. The mountain is always to your east. So no matter where you're at in Utah, the mountain is on the east. So you would then head east to 1300 east, and you would find that particular house. And then the east would increase. So once you got to 2200 north, you would be on maybe 300 east or 400 east or 100 west or 200 west. So you would just count the streets. or look at the street signs all the way up to 13th East, and you would find 2200 North, 1300 East. So in the same way, if you're going south and to the west, you would just keep traveling south, and the numbers, the further you travel south, the numbers will increase. And then when you go to the west, the further you travel to the west, the numbers. So from the center of town, where you go north or south, they will increase. So you could find someone's house purely by the grid system. And that's how I used to get around all the time. I didn't even pull out a map. I would just look at whatever house I was going to and what the address was. And I basically knew where some of the major streets were, whether it was 300 North or 300 East or 200 North that went through a particular city, travel along that and branch off, and you'd find someone's home. That is the grid system. You're seeing more and more street names in some of the newer developments. Ireland Way, traditional names. But they are keeping it like maybe 1342 West Ireland Way. So, but yeah, that is the grid system. It was very easy to find someone's home or business, etc., based on the grid system. So if you took a major road, like if you were in Main Street, or not Main Street, say State Street, Salt Lake City, it is a road that runs north to south all the way through Salt Lake City. And if a business was at 400 North State Street, once you got on State Street, head to the north till you get to 400 North. If their address was 5300 South State Street, wherever you enter State Street, you would just head south to 5300 South, and you would find that particular business or home. So it's a little different. It is a little different, but I like the grid system. So my home address is a grid system. So State Street goes all the way to Sandy. That is correct. Sure does. Speaking of roads in Salt Lake City, I think the Mormons' intentions were to build roads so wide you could do a U-turn with one of those Sooner carriages, and it's wide still despite all the modern technology. Yeah, possible. Yeah, I do not know the history, but anything is possible. Some of the roads in Salt Lake City are wide. The main, like West Temple, State Street, North Temple, some of those streets in downtown are wider streets. But when you get to, say, the east bench of Salt Lake City or the west side of town, the streets are more narrow. Which poses a problem in a lot of those neighborhoods with snow. A lot of people are parking on the street, and the snowplows have a tough time clearing the roads in a lot of areas of Salt Lake City and Provo and Ogden, where you've got some of the more narrow streets that you will find. Any more questions this evening before I call it a night? Well, I thank everybody, and I'll be back again next week.